Hello, and welcome to WarCrafters for July 21st, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 18. I am Mayor Watt, and that up above me, right next to me, over there, is the Sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for WarCrafters.
Yeah, right after this show is going to be not non-sequitur news. What am I talking about? It's going to be the continuity report, and then technology today, and then four-wheel tech. Previous to this, we did non-sequitur news, reality hacker, and wanted. This show is all about gaming news. We're going to be talking about crime-solving games, Asteroids the Roguelike, co-op dungeon crawlers, mistakes to avoid in Once Human, Dungeons of Hinterberg is cozy. Smash hit or trash it for 2024 so far. Best medieval RPGs, No Man's Sky updates, free to play or free to pay, and forgotten RPG features. I think that this is going to be one of the more fun episodes that we've had, but let's see what happens. You decide. You make the call. Anyway, everything's powered by ohmTown.com. Oh, here. All right, folks. I have been looking for my forever game, and I got into a discussion with a couple citizens of ohmTown, trying to figure out the hell constitutes Mayor Watt's forever game.
And it was an uphill battle.
Because, see, I know what I want, and I want to stream it. I want to stream it all the time. I want to do my mayoral duties and then turn off and stream this one game. And I keep getting driven back to two, No Man's Sky and Minecraft. And I think it's because they have the same type of mechanic. Massive open world, unending. They lack RPG elements like a large-scale, high-resolution environment and a large-scale, high-resolution storyline. But it's open world, but it lacks stats and skill progression and stuff like that. And I think you can get to somewhat in Minecraft with mods, not even close in No Man's Sky. But there's going to be this kickoff because they're rolling Light No Fire technology into No Man's Sky. And it's highlighting some of the stuff that's going to take place in Light No Fire. So maybe Light No Fire is going to have this RPG mechanic.
Could be.
And that could be my forever game. But I've said this about 5 other games since I started streaming, and they've all wet the bed and fallen on their face like they went on a bender on Friday. Anyway, so if you know of a game out there, what I've been playing recently, here, let me pull it up. It's called Throne and Liberty. Really fun game for Mayor Watt. Is it not going to show? Come on. So yeah, Throne and Liberty. It's in open beta. It actually ends in a couple of days. And I really like it. High resolution, RPG elements, pretty big storyline, but they're fast tracking you through the beta so that they can see what the flow is. And I'm not too hip on that. And it's kind of grindy, and it's supposed to be pay to win. People are poo-pooing it in various places, but you know what? Not all of us are full-time streamers that have the ability to play a game all day long. Plus, my attention span is like a mote of dust float by and I go somewhere else. So that's why I do WarCrafters. because I like to talk about a broad spectrum of things. So let's get into it. First article's over in the WarCrafters channel. You can get there by going over to ohmTown.com, and then right underneath Creative and Maker is WarCrafters, right at the bottom there. By the way, Smash or Trash is actually a show that I want to bring to Twitch and YouTube and a podcast. It's called Smash or Trash, where we evaluate stuff and either call it a smash hit or we are going to trash it. And I actually threw that into this show title here, where we refer to some games for 2024 and we say smash hit or trash it. So let's get into it. Best crime solving games ranked. They're kind of doing their own smash it or trash it kind of a thing, but this is hit or miss. For them, it's a ranking system. It's over at GameRant.com. Connor Hogg is the author. I've probably not played any of these games, but they are ranking them. Mystery tales transcend mediums, from Sherlock Holmes books to crime-solving games. Fans can dive into the narrative and use deductive reasoning. Immersive game experiences where fans solve crimes alongside a protagonist, facing supernatural foes and challenging moral dilemmas. Or rich narratives and intricate puzzles. Players can unravel complex cases, make tough decisions, and piece together clues to crack the mystery. Did you know that I found out that there's a Harry Potter clue?
I believe you previously found out that there was a Harry Potter clue.
Did I really? Did I talk about it? I don't know. I'm getting old.
I don't know.
So Deadly Premonition is their number 9.
That sounds very fun, right? Because you could match the theme.
Yeah, but you always know
Harry
that it's
Potter.
Voldemort. Voldemort's always the killer. Voldemort. It's always.
Yeah, but not in Clue.
It's always Voldemort.
It could be somebody really unexpected.
How can Harry Potter ever be the bad guy, right? He's the bro Chad.
Maybe he's not one of the suspects. I don't know.
Right? He's the pro Chad jock that everybody loves because it's destined, because they're so cool and they make partner real fast. Anyway, number 8 is Sherlock Holmes, Crimes and Punishment. And then number 7 is Danganronpa, Trigger Happy Havoc. I've never played any of these, so I'm going to just kind of tease y'all and you can go over and check it all out. Hypnospace Outlaws, number 6. The Case of the Golden Idol is number 5. Nancy Drew series is number 4. Immortality.
Hey, I didn't know those were actually games, and since it might actually be based on books, that might have some potential.
The Nancy Drew ones? Yeah, it says it's a series of
Yes.
PC games that were all solid with a few amazing standouts. The Nancy Drew series is a staple in the crime-solving genre. Players step into the petite shoes of the titular teen. Look, I got to use the word. It's usually in this show or in the continuity report where we get to say titular. The titular teen will enjoy a journey around maps, make allies, interview witnesses, suspects, complete fiendishly difficult puzzles. Pretty cool. All right. Immortality, Return of the Obra Dinn, and again, number 1, Disco Elysium, which I've only seen played. I have not watched it. There is a whole lot of drama behind the makers of this. ZA and
It seems to get a lot of positive attention in the articles.
the game is spectacular to watch. This thing could have been an audiobook, like a live play. If you watch somebody like Co-Carnage play it, I didn't watch anybody else play this, but I've actually seen snippets of other players, but the only one that I've seen comprehensively play it was Co-Carnage. And the game was spectacular. The story was engaging, very deep. Honestly, it's the best murder mystery game that I've ever seen.
Wow.
And I can't say that I have a comprehensive understanding of it. Not the game, but of the genre of, mystery crime solving kind of games. But of the ones that I've seen, Disco Elysium blows them on. It's basically the Baldur's Gate 3 of the crime solving genre games. Nothing else has the storyline that ranks up to it. Cyberpunk 2077 has an interesting story, and it is kind of a crime murder mystery thing.
Yeah, I think
What
we've seen
happened.
it in another compilation related to mysteries.
Yeah, but for real, Disco Elysium is pretty amazing. It says fans of the game praise Disco Elysium for the systems that see the protagonist talking to every character on the map and going up against skill tests to determine if he will be able to manipulate, lie, or feign ignorance towards them to inform them how he can get out of every possible witness, as much out of. And with incredible writing and a tendency to dwell on the detective's inner turmoil, Disco Elysium is a quality mystery story that players will love to uncover. Just watching it was fun.
Interesting. It almost sounds like there's like a flawed protagonist, which is always a good thing.
They are, yeah. They have whatchamacallit. They don't know who. So Disco Elysium will quickly realize that their washed-up detective has no idea who he is. So what is it called? It says a killer hangover, but amnesia. There
Amnesia.
There's the word. Yeah, he has drunk so much that he's given himself amnesia. But after he heads downstairs and meets his new partner, he's plunged into a tense world of clashing ideologies, corruption, and poverty. And a man is dead, and that kicks all of this into motion. I will not ruin it or say anything beyond that, other than what this is all very light discussion about what Disco Elysium is. Absolutely stellar. So go and check it out. Look at that. Spent so much time on it. Okay, let's keep moving. Games wait for no one. So the next article is over in Reality Hacker. This new PC game turns Asteroids into a retro roguelike. Galactic Glitch is a new action roguelike that hits early access today, and that is July 15th, almost a week ago. And it scratches the same itch as classics like Asteroids. So the game is discussed by Giovanni Calantonio over at digitaltrends.com. They've got a screenshot of it. Looks pretty cool. I like high resolution graphics, even if it is basically Asteroids, but turned up a notch. They say that they've played hundreds of hours of games that... they played hundreds of games, which you might as well say are hundreds of hours because you can't really evaluate. That riff on the classic space shooter at this point, Asteroids, from Geometry Wars to Hyper Meteor, even the weakest variations still tend to hook me in some way, the author, not me. I grew up on Asteroids. I used to play Asteroids with my dad at arcades around my childhood neighborhood. So that and like Pac-Man and Centipede. Yeah. So I've got that feeling again while playing Galactic Glitch, which is out in early access today via Steam. So I'll be checking it out after the show. Maybe, because we've got 3 more shows after this one. So that'll pull us all the way to like 8.
Yep, the shows must keep running.
That's right. Don't miss a show. Oh, except for... we'll let you know about what's coming. So the action shouldn't be too surprising to anyone who's played a classic space shooter. You can turn around full 360 degrees while flying and pepper enemies with shots. Galactic Glitch does add its own spin on that tried and true formula, though. Its unique gimmick is that players can grab small enemies or meteors and chuck those at those enemies. We actually watched a demonstration of this on YouTube recently, very brief, because it hooked me immediately. But it's different than Asteroids in that it's almost bullet hell. So it breaks out of the casual, cozy genre really quick, because as you move through the levels, you end up with enemies that are firing multiple rounds, which is not like Asteroids.
Right, so, yeah, it seems like that kind of changes the nature of it.
Yeah, and I'm really into cozy games, kind of chill games, you know. Like No Man's Sky doesn't have to be frenetic, crazy. It can, at some point, get that way if you allow the game to get out of control, but usually it's really chill and you just kind of cruise around. At any rate, Considering that it's only now launching in early access, Galactic Glitch can feel a little light in its early state. The core loop is that there are thanks to progression hooks, but it's admittedly a bit repetitive to fly through circular zones, hammer the shoot button. Thankfully, that does broaden out a bit. Even in this build, there's a wealth of weapons to unlock that can change up their playstyle, like a short-range shotgun that forces them to stay close, or a weaker but long-range set of homing lasers, run-based upgrades, etc. Honestly, the funnest thing about, or the most fun thing about this is that you have a little tractor beam kind of thing that can grab a small ship and you hurl it at another ship or a little asteroid, and you can fire it.
Okay, that sounds really fun.
You can even, let's say your enemy fires a heat-seeking missile at you or a seeking missile at you. You can actually snatch the missile out of the air and fire it back at them.
Like a boomerang or something.
Yeah, and you can also fire at the... there's basically like a little sphere around you that's like a warp bubble, and you can fire stuff at the warp bubble and it will have Newtonian physics. So it'll fire at the warp bubble and then slingshot at the appropriate angle out at the enemy. So you can actually ricochet stuff off of the warp bubble. It's
very neat.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. So this being multiplayer would be a lot of fun too. So, or co-op, I would say. All right. In the graphics that are on this, the screenshots on here, for whatever reason, it doesn't look like they are as high resolution as what I saw on the YouTube videos that I was watching. And I only saw a couple of people that have played this, and for various short times because I was kind of hooked on it immediately. So I'll add it to my wish list. Did you want to keep going though?
I think so, but I'm interested to see this. It looks like a lot of fun, and it looks good for those that like retro games.
Oh yeah, it's like a modern take on a retro game. Yep, for sure. So this next article is over in the WarCrafters channel as well. Best dungeon crawlers with co-op. I'm really into co-op games. I don't really get a chance to co-op with a lot of people. And lately, because I'm so busy with mayoral stuff, I really don't. I'd like to stream more and have the community play, but it doesn't always seem to work out. But before I get into talking about this best dungeon crawlers with co-op, if you hit !WC, you'll get all of the show notes for today's episode of WarCrafters. If you hit !show notes, it'll give you the syntax for all of the show note requests. And if you hit !pod, that will give you the links to our podcasts. There are 7 of them out there. So be sure to follow us there wherever you catch pod. I would ask you to go through Apple, but we know
that assumes you have an Apple device too.
Well, no, you should be able to get Apple Podcasts just by throwing in the URL, because it's just a URL call. Because podcasters are basically RSS feeds. I don't think so.
I know, but that's a very divisive topic in terms of what platforms it plays on.
Gotcha. Yeah, now I'm really questioning myself. Anyway, you can actually get the podcast from wherever you want to catch pod. That broke my brain for a moment. That's not what you're supposed to do, Sentient AI.
Well, you're right that you can get there through the browser on Android.
Doggone it. Now you're really killing me. Okay, so the best dungeon crawlers with co-op. Dungeon crawlers can be massively fun and an addictive way to spend one's time. These games will often have new kinds of enemies to throw at players as they progress further, and have lots of secrets to discover along the way. By the way, Throne and Liberty are the zones are they're not gated, but they're level locked. So if you are like level 16 and you want to go and bat cleanup of level 4 areas that you didn't adequately cleanse, you can go back as a level 16 and just boop, 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 like one shot.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think I ran into See, what a lot of games now do is you start out and you're in a zone that's for level 1, and then you rank up to level 2, and then go back to the level 1 area, and everything's level 2. So all the way up to level whatever. You could be level 100, and you come back to the level 1 zone, and all of the monsters for you are level 100. But the level 1 person next to you, it's level 1. Right? Unless they're in your group, and then everybody's screwed except for the level 100. Anyway, so Nobody Saves the World is a co-op dungeon crawler. They give it a rank of 6 out of the top 6 that they've chosen. Nobody Saves the World. It says it's a great option for players who don't want to worry about making a mistake or having a suboptimal character. This is because players can change between different forms with different abilities at will. Players will be diving into dungeons and accomplishing different objectives to gain new forms and abilities as they progress through the game. This is my kind of game. I like this kind of thing, where you go in. I love dungeon crawlers. I grew up playing D&D, and primarily it was a dungeon crawl for us. It wasn't this live play, pseudo-emotional relationship, teen angst, whatever garbage that I keep seeing on a lot of live plays, that is semi or fully scripted. All I want is a group of people hanging out, playing a game, having fun, not all this scripted stuff. So when I get to play a co-op game, that's basically how we play it, right? Everybody is on a Zoom call or whatever, or Discord or whatever, and everybody's cracking jokes and calling each other out for some stupid move, and just going from there, right? So
I mean, that sounds way too reasonable. So I'm sure there's not a lot of that out there.
It's way too reasonable, right? So the co-op mode allows players to invite a friend from the game's menu and then dive into the last place the game left off. One of the many things players should know is that everything unlocked by one player is also unlocked by the other player. And if both players use the same form for the same goal, things go significantly faster. This game is made better in every way through co-op play, as it rewards both players for using teamwork by allowing them to obtain more rewards faster. Sounds fun. Sounds like a game I think everybody would love if they're into co-op games. Now, you might play a game with an ohmTown citizen that, I don't know, has a penchant for trying to kill Mayor Watt. And then
why would they want to do that?
I'm really not sure. I'm gonna have to have some side discussions. Let's move on. So number 5 is Enter the Gungeon, which I keep talking about. I keep hearing about, but I don't keep talking about. I don't really know much about it. It says one of the most chaotic and fun dungeon crawlers on the list is Enter the Gungeon. Some players might find its pixelated aesthetic gimmicky and off-putting. That's me, although I like pixely games. I like higher resolution pixely games. But they'll be missing out on something special. The game has an outstanding arsenal of different guns, along with many references to other games and films. Every weapon behaves in different ways. So sounds like fun. And it says there's no online co-op for Enter the Gungeon, just local. So I guess everybody is going to be on the couch. Yeah. Number 4 is Path of Exile. There's a new Path of Exile coming. This is a free-to-play game. Anybody can download it. It's kind of like Diablo. It's unending, really. I mean, my understanding is I've never finished either Diablo or Path of Exile. Actually, no. I finished the original, the current Diablo that's out. I beat that, but
Diablo 4, I think.
Yeah, but it actually has seasons, so yeah. Just made me want to make a shirt. Sorry. What's up?
Oh, nothing. I didn't have anything to add on that.
No. So yeah, there's seasons for Diablo now. So every once in a while they drop something new. It's kind of like most live services. It's a live service. So at some point they're going to stop creating content and kill the hundreds of dollars that people have put into it.
Stop killing games.
Including me. Like, I was an early access player, and I even missed the opportunity because I got pulled away because of mayoral duties to get the loot that early access players were allowed to get if they got to a certain level. I couldn't get to that level, and so I paid for the privilege of watching everybody else get to that level. Yeah,
nice.
Pretty frustrating. Anyway, solo players will have an option of making new friends as they move through the game. Path of Exile is a lot of fun. It doesn't cost anything to play, but if you want to be competitive, you'll be dropping some coin, or you'll be working many hours to keep competitive. Torchlight 2 is number 3 on the list. I haven't played this in so long. It says it doesn't try to reinvent the typical dungeon crawler formula. Players have different classes with different skills and abilities, will tear through waves of enemies, and will become stronger through the loot and experience they acquire. The game is fun, and what starts off as easy to understand classes gain satisfying depth in their progression. There's more in this article. Binding of Isaac Rebirth. It is a kind of a cult favorite, which is kind of interesting. Binding of Isaac. Go and check that one out. And then number 1 is Diablo itself. It says the original Diablo here, 1996. But I would probably say all of the Diablos. It says co-op makes the game far more enjoyable and players able to revive their fallen friends. This is one of the biggest benefits of co-op, as death in solo play means loading up the last save state, no matter how far back that may be. The game supports up to 4 players through online co-op or linking systems up for local play. This linking systems up for local play is a dying breed in games, which it's greed-based. It's entirely greed-based. But I understand that if you want to keep a game moving forward, you have to make it a live play game, a live service. So the live service requires either microtransactions to keep on juicing the system so that there's a salary that's given to developers, writers, artists, etc., content creators, or you have a monthly service fee like WoW. And so I totally understand. Now, the price is what hurts, because some people aren't going to be able to pay $15 a month or pay $100 for the game and $15 a month.
Right. Particularly if they want to play any other game. Like, at some point, they're out of gaming budget.
Right. So I'm really into Path of Exile, but I'll never be competitive. And I'm into Throne and Liberty, but I'm not going to be, I'm a dirty, filthy casual. And so like, I basically want to start up a group of people that just has a streaming network on Twitch, just called Filthy Casuals or something, because we stream games periodically, but I always stream the news because it's more dynamic than the game can ever be. But I really am looking for that, my final game, my forever game. And I call it that because, like, pets find their forever home, right? The one that they're happiest with, and that's that's where they're gonna move on to the go across the rainbow bridge kind of a thing. I want to play a game and be streaming when I cross the rainbow bridge. Woof. That was a lot.
Wow. I mean, that took a rather serious turn, but it does divulge your love for gaming.
Not like the passengers in Grandpa's car.
Exactly.
Let's keep going. Next article's over in WarCrafters, beginner mistakes to avoid in Once Human. This is a fun game. It says Once Human is free to play, but there's a cash shop for buying cosmetic items and also a monthly battle pass. True.
So not really game. Free.
No. I mean, it's free, but you don't get bonus stuff without the battle pass. And there's like... it's kind of like all live service games. You have to do certain things. And if you want to be competitive, like keep up with a guild or whatever, and not kind of get like played down for opportunity within a guild, or they call it different in different places. But it's a fun game. Honestly, it's a horror game. It has multiplayer PvP, but it's primarily PvE. The game follows a seasonal format with different stages. Right now, they're entering stage 3, I think it is. But that combined with so many other games that are coming out, this genre of live service RPG like PvPvE style games is getting very, very dense. The only one that doesn't charge for anything, cosmetics or otherwise, is No Man's Sky.
That I was gonna say. And that's been for a long period of time too, so even more impressive.
Yeah, almost 10 years. Yeah, 9 years I think it is right now. So let's go over to the source and talk about this. Game rant, once human, beginner mistakes to avoid. It says ammo conservation is key in once human, as crafting advanced ammo is expensive and sources must be gathered constantly. But then you get these little diggers that go, digbies is what they're called. You get these from mining yourself, and then you just put them into action, and they go out and find hundreds of resources that when you go back to your home base, and you can teleport from anywhere back to your home base, they've got hundreds of resources. And I think I've got like 4 digbies right now, all mining while I am off doing other adventures, and I'm mining stuff myself, and you can carry a metric ton. So I wouldn't really call that a big deal. The problem really is finding additional advanced resources and leveling up to the point where you can get the advanced stuff so that you can build workbenches that allow you to get more advanced stuff. It says fully explore and complete all points of interest to gather rare crafting materials and gear necessary to progress in the game. Yes, you're going to be doing a lot of that in this game. Utilize energy links efficiently to move to new areas and upgrade gear, and don't miss out on completing journey tasks for rewards. You'll want to complete everything. And so they talk about wasting ammo. It can get expensive, but it's going to happen. Plus, a lot of the weapons are horrible in their aim, and they're like firing all over the place.
Well, then you're running out of ammo fast.
Yeah, and so you switch to something like a crossbow or a sniper rifle, and that has lower rate of fire. So you have to make mods and stuff like that to speed up the machine guns and other automatic weapons that allow you to focus fire a little bit better. I don't know. You're not really wasting ammo, you're surviving, and so you just keep making a ton of it. It says not harvesting as you go, the resources will be needed. Yes, absolutely. Pardon me, I need to sit up a little bit.
Well, isn't that a problem in a lot of games?
Yeah. I mean, the more you harvest, the more it takes up space in your bag and adds weight. And so at some point you're going to get bogged down. And so you could be on the other side of the world and you teleport back to your base, drop it in your storage crates, and then you teleport to somewhere near, but not necessarily your actual location of where you desire to be. But you always have to harvest, loot everything, every damn thing. And there's this little ping that you can do, and that will send out a signal and show you everything that you can loot. And it also seemingly notifies the enemy where you are, but builds character. At least for me. I don't know if that ping actually does. And then it says, unless a player is friendly with a large PvP guild, they will have limited access to fuel reserves and will need to be constantly looting wrecked cars for fuel. All of this is best done during normal play by just taking a few moments to harvest resource nodes and loot containers the player comes across. And you're always coming across stuff everywhere. Getting too far ahead is really easy. There's a location like this one right down here that you could be somewhere else and you end up down here and you're fighting stuff that's level 15 when you're level 9, and you kind of get your butt handed to you. It says each new map area is gated by a boss encounter. These boss encounters become much more difficult as the player progresses. Therefore, the player needs to be there to make sure that they're appropriate gear and skill. So if you rush too fast, you're not really prepped for the way that the mechanics work, and then you're up a creek without a paddle. And it says that it can be just tempting to follow the main storyline without completing all of the points of interest in the previous map areas and not completing the side quests. It says don't do this. True. That way you can level up and be adequate level. And not bothering to explore everything, and wasting energy links, keep moving to new areas. One of the things that you run across is that you can't teleport because there's no teleport tower unlocked. It says energy links are a form of currency that new players in Once Human may not understand, and that is your power right there. That's how much energy you have to jump over.
Well, that could be a limiting factor, and probably surprising.
I'm more along this ratio right here. So at what point, I don't know. This cost gets dithered away. I'm not sure. But it says they are used to activate teleport beacons for fast travel. The further the player wants to teleport, the higher the cost of energy links. Therefore, it's worth a player moving their base to each new map they zone to, and that's what I do. Missing out on journey rewards. You always have to do these little quests, and they give you bonuses down here. So definitely do that. It's basically questing, not using all available deviants. There's different kinds of deviants that do certain things. You'll want to take advantage of them from planting, mining, and producing stuff. Finding exotic goods from time to time, etc. And they mentioned combat, which is true. Yeah, there's quite a few out there that help. Oh, and that's it. Ta-da, number 7. It's fun. It's
so
horror.
Have you solved all of those?
Oh yeah. I mainly because if you pay attention, you don't run across this anyway. Like you'll go, well, what is that deviant used for? And like a Digby is a miner. And there's a blob that you can use for combat. There's a butterfly. There's a couple of others. One freezes people. And I can't remember them all, but I'm not that advanced. I'm like level 15 or something like that. And then I paused because I really like Throne and Liberty. It's a lot of fun, but it's an open beta that's time limited. Okay, let's keep going. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, the next article is over on WarCrafters as well. Despite its relaxing pastels and quaint mountain village, Dungeons of Hinterberg is pushing against the confines of cozy games. Whether or not action RPG Dungeons of Hinterberg can be considered a cozy game is definitional. The traditional cozy game is relaxing, pastel-hued, and likely centered around quaint, repetitive gameplay that reassures and calms the player. Stardew Valley for farming. A Short Hike for strolling, and Dorfromantic for tile laying. Hinterberg's dungeon delving and monster slaying do break the mold a bit, but you'll be doing it with a gentle, cartoonish style swaddling you. So let's go over and look at this. Maddie Chilton over at PCGamer.com put the article together, and the deck statement says Hinterberg has charm to spare, but its developers don't see it as part of the cozy game trend. So that's what it looks like.
It sure looks like the cozy game genre from the picture.
See, now, I would say that if it wasn't for finding other games that are referred to as rotoscope games, there's a couple of games that it's like crazy combat, like hyperkinetic games.
Like a TD Bloom 6 or something?
Well, no, I mean, it's first-person shooter, and it's rotoscope.
Oh, okay, yeah. Pretty frenetic, got it.
And I'm trying to remember the name of it. I keep forgetting stuff like that. But anyway, there's no gore in Dungeons of Hinterberg, and the violence is stylized, taking place against gooey, inhuman mobs that feel more like creatures from Jeff Smith's Bone than wild animals, and I don't even know what that means. Protagonist Louisa spends her evenings making friends, shopping, and wandering the village. It's many ways exactly what it says on the tin, a vacation sim where Louisa is able to relax away from the stresses of her daily life in the city. So that's it. Open and cozy, right? Well, when you run into someone you don't quite vibe with, that's where the cozy game label might not quite apply to us, says Philip Seifried, co-founder of Microbird. I feel like most cozy games pamper you in this way, where everyone is nice to you, and even if you're not nice to them, they're nice to you. They're so over the top in their grumpiness that you just laugh at them. Dungeons of Hinterberg doesn't lock its players into that simplistic of classifications. There are a couple of characters that we expect people not to necessarily want to hang out with. A rich older widow who's disdainful of the changes made to Hinterberg since she began vacationing there as a young woman, and Taya, a local teen whose attitude is abrasive, verging on disrespectful before she warms up to Louisa. So, my understanding of this is that at some point, Louisa ends up doing dungeon dives. But like in other cases, it's a relationship game, and they're talking about stuff and doing certain things.
Do you think this game has like an identity crisis going? Or do you think it's intentional?
For me, it does, but it's intentional. I mean, the developers are making it intentional. So it says Louisa is trying to relax, de-stress, and reorient herself by escaping to Hinterberg to challenge the dungeons, but life keeps getting in the way. In this case, the reality of what the massive influx of unregulated tourism from the dungeons has done to Hinterberg. So this is kind of meta. In our other shows, we talk about over-tourism causing trouble and strife in towns. Dungeons of Hinterberg is the draw for a massive influx of unregulated tourism, and Louisa is trying to relax and de-stress, but there's stuff going on in Hinterberg beyond the dungeon she's come to challenge herself with. Kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw this as a demo.
Definitely intriguing.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at it if I can get some free time this week. Let's keep going though, right? Sound good?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We've got 4 more articles, No. We've got 5 more articles, including this one. We're running really behind because I did a deep dive. So 3 games that surpassed expectations and 3 that flopped. So let's go over to Game Rant. Jasper Kinney and Michael Akuchi over at GameRant.com put the article together. There is no deck statement. So let's see. Do they actually talk about the best surprises? No.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 good and 3 bad, basically.
So these
3 smash and 3 trash.
Oh, okay. So Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree is a smash. Dragon's Dogma 2 is a smash, and Helldivers 2 is a smash. If not just because of their sales, but because of their story and their progress. Shadow of the Erd Tree, by the way. This game's expansion alone is worth the price to get the game and the expansion. I mean, it's a game in and of itself. So,
yeah, didn't they have a recent DLC release?
That's what Shadow of the Erd Tree is.
Yeah.
There's Elden Ring, and then there's Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree. Dragon's Dogma 2 is another one. It's an RPG, and yeah, for sure, people have loved what it represents. And then Helldivers 2 is a live service game where you're trying to rid the universe of bugs. And it's basically like Starship Troopers, but it's over the top, a mix between like Warhammer 40k and Starship Troopers. And yeah, so Skull and Bones kind of wet the bed. Silent Hill 2 remake, it's just a remake, and so they say the worst anticipated reception. Yeah, people really wanted to love this game, but they didn't like it. And then Suicide Squad, well, I'll just say it's Suicide Squad. So
yeah,
and it's a $70 Silent Hill 2 and Suicide Squad are $70 games. $70
interestingly
games.
The top 3 are not.
Exactly. They're $30 cheaper on average. So what is the problem here? This was charged more and got a crappy reception, 2 of them, Suicide Squad and Silent Hill 2. And the top, the production value of the Elden Ring expansion is a $70 game, but it's $40. Dragon's Dogma 2, the storyline and the graphics are spectacular. People really liked it, so it should have been more expensive. And Helldivers 2 has so much replayability because of the way that the story loop is and the game loop is, and the way that you work with other people. It's enticing to hang out with your friends. Like a group of 4 people can basically play as a squad in Helldivers and bring democracy to these bugs. That's basically it. They're hell-bent on bringing a democracy, freedom to the universe. But then Skull and Bones was this huge game that was supposed to release, and it's kind of meh. So there's your... I agree with this. The top 3 are smash, and the bottom 3 are trash. So sorry, Amazon. Please don't dox me. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Next article is over in the WarCrafters channel, Best RPGs Without Medieval Settings. I'm going to jump straight on over to the source. This is Game Rant again. They're pretty heavy in our stream today, but RPGs break away from traditional medieval settings. They don't have to be. Role-playing games don't have to be medieval settings. So I chose this because they called it out like that, like without medieval settings.
But are most of them set that way or no? Or they're just a hodgepodge?
I would say that role-playing games started out with medieval settings because role-playing games started out as D&D.
Right.
But pretty damn quick, Cyberpunk came out, and it is not... I mean, Shadowrun isn't really medieval. It is supernatural, but it isn't. There's one, it's an RPG called Generic Universal Role-Playing System, GURPS. That can apply to anything. There's even Call of Cthulhu, which is a role-playing game that isn't
like horror.
Medieval. Yeah, it's horror. And countless others that have been turned into games in later years, right? Even Warhammer. It's an RPG and a tabletop game. So RPG genre is the most popular in the gaming market, yes, with its mechanics being applied to various other types of titles, but RPG is not a system so much as it's an embodiment of a role-playing game system.
It's like a style or method of gaming almost.
Yeah, you're taking on the persona of something that's created that's different than you. You're taking on the role. You are playing a game. That's why they call it a role-playing game. If it was nothing more than dice, then the role wouldn't be spelled R-O-L-E, but that's what it's spelled.
Right.
So you're taking on the role of somebody that's playing, or of a character in a game, and you're playing a game. So while wildly recognized for medieval or high fantasy settings popularized by such titles as The Witcher, Baldur's Gate, Elder Scrolls, RPGs are not confined to these. So they talk about Earthbound. I'm going to go through these pretty quick because these are just the titles, and feel free if you want to talk about them, we can talk about them at another time. But you can go over and read some of this. This is a Nintendo game from 1995 called Earthbound, and then Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, which is a game but started out as a role-playing game on pen and paper. Pencil and paper. This game came out in 2004, but probably early 90s is when Vampire, the role-playing game, came out. It's called The Masquerade. You pretend to be a vampire you take on the persona of a vampire in Vampire the Masquerade, and you try and play the game without exposing the vampire world to the public.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting premise.
Yeah, it's all part of it. So you try to hide. Sometimes you expose yourself, and you don't want Mayor Watt exposing himself. So, Yakuza Like a Dragon. Here Ichiban Kasuga takes the fall for a crime that he didn't commit, and after 18 years finds the world vastly different from how he knew it. And it's a fun franchise that is fun to watch other people play, but I don't have the tenacity to sit there and play it. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is number 7. Number 6 is Cyberpunk 2077, which I would probably say is borderline role-playing game. It doesn't have the same stat type of mechanic as far as I recall. It's been a while since I played it though. Fallout 4. Basically, you take on the persona of a vault dweller and break out onto your own. Fallout 4 is probably most aligned with what people are watching Fallout on Netflix. Or is it Netflix?
Right.
Yeah, Netflix, right? No,
I
Prime.
think it was on Netflix.
Shit, I don't know where it is. Golly, I mean.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm so lost now. Anyway, we're going to be watching that when the next episode drops, the next season drops, but that's like in 2025 or something.
It looks like it was on
Prime, right?
Shoot, now I'm not sure.
Okay, I quit. So number 4 is
Amazon
Final Fantasy
Prime.
7. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Final Fantasy, that is that's been around for so long. This says 2020, but Final Fantasy has been around for a tremendous amount of time, and it has RPG elements. Yeah, see, they even call it RPG elements. The game is acclaimed for its narrative, iconic characters, and combat system that blends traditional RPG elements with action mechanics. Then here's Disco Elysium again. Doesn't have the same stats as a conventional RPG. Disco Elysium, though, is you take on the persona of a particular character. It's not a unique character. Role-playing games typically allow you to build your character in your way. That's not how this works, but you take on the role of somebody. Great story. I can't gush about it again. Persona 5 Royal is number 2 on the list. Everybody that plays this game loves it. It's not my style of game, but it says, wrapped in themes of freedom and overcoming modern life's limitations, the game puts players in control of Joker, a student balancing school life with battles against society's injustices. It has a unique playstyle, unique artwork, unique storyline. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And then everybody loves Mass Effect. This is Mass Effect 2. It's from 2010. Developed
Including
by BioWare.
the Metacritic score.
Yeah, 96. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves Mass Effect. Developed by BioWare, the same company behind Dragon Age, Mass Effect is a recommendation for any player interested in RPG that deviates from medieval themes. Filled with interesting characters and an equally epic story, the game offers a rich experience with moral choices and consequences affecting the galaxy's fate, alongside dynamic combat and impressive graphics for its time. But again, it's 14 years old. So I've never gotten into the Mass Effect line, because every time I think about it, so much time has gone by that the graphics and everything else just doesn't appeal to me. But again, I'm like a game butterfly. I just kind of float by for maybe an hour, maybe 2. Although I recently saw somebody that posts like one video and it's an hour and a half a week. And anyway, yeah, I'm getting salty.
See, there are other people out there that do that.
Yep. All right, let's keep moving though. No Man's Sky is getting a Starship Troopers mode, and it already dropped. This is a weekly show, but I wanted to talk about No Man's Sky for just a brief moment. It's been known for constant updates, and its latest, Worlds Part 1, is taking stuff from, and it's already been admitted to, that it's taking technology from Light No Fire.
Light No Fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because it has such a huge player base, they're getting a massive amount of feedback as to the good and bad of that technology. That's
actually quite brilliant.
Yeah.
Other game studios should do that.
Yep. Carly Volocci over at digitaltrends.com put the article together. There have been some issues where bases that have been in place for several years are now hovering up above the ground because the modifications, the world generation has impacted it in that way. And it didn't do really checks and balances to see where something might be. As with other No Man's Sky updates, the team's adding more planets, biomes, plants, creatures. However, this is interesting, or this is looking to be a huge technology upgrade. where it's being made more realistic and dynamic. And then they have this little bug hunting thing called Starship Troopers Inspired. And honestly, I think it's pretty spectacular in what they've done. There's oddities that have been added. World generation has really dynamic weather conditions in regions, biomes are being generated. Water is more dynamic and more realistic. Yet everything is still destructible. So I wonder if Light No Fire is going to be that way.
Right. I guess we'll have to see. I don't know if there's a release date for that yet.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It says, as for the next project, Light No Fire, Murray was cagey, but mentioned that it uses a lot of the same technology that Worlds Part 1 does. It's this crazy ambitious game, and they've been working on it for years, and they've learned so many things, and it feels like we're almost bringing the technology back from the future. So Light No Fire, I'm hoping, because it is going to be, apparently it's going to be a live service and an MMO style game. I'm hoping that I like it enough to turn it into my forever game, but I don't know. There's so many. Like, I'm looking at my playlist right now, and like, I like New World. Oh goodness, I'm looking at so many of them. I like Enshrouded. I like Elder Scrolls Online, but I'm really into cozy games. So I've got like games like Dwarf Romantic and Brotato and Balatro. I'm waiting for another farm roguelike called Rebirth that's coming out. I like Court Keeper. These are all games that I like to play, but I get pulled away after an hour and I can't really do anything with it. So I hope I get sucked into this. Gone are the times where I played, 10 to 12 hours a day and still had a full-time job. And that's when I was beta testing World of Warcraft, and then the following 10 years. Yeah, I was a serious World of Warcraft player. Anyway, come on, Light No Fire. Light my fire.
And I did double check again, and there's still no release date, which is not surprising.
Yeah. So the next article is over in the WarCrafters channel. This is 82% of adult gamers have spent money on free-to-play games, according to a new study. A newly published report claims that the majority of adults in the United States play video games of some kind. It also found that most of them have spent real money on in-app purchases in free-to-play games. Now, some people will say free-to-play is pay-to-win, but not all games do that. What do they call it? My brain just went blank. Let me go over to the Kotaku article. Zach Zweisen over at Kotaku.com put the article together. A lot of people in this country are buying stuff in games like Fortnite and Warzone. Visual stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the impact. I can't remember what they're called. Yeah, my brain just went blank. So if all you buy are things that impact your appearance, they're not pay to win, because it's not changing a stat, it's not impacting performance of weapons or defense capability equipment of any kind, right? So the report, which was done in partnership with in-game advertising platform Anzu, suggests that a lot of people playing video games are also willing to spend money on microtransactions. According to ComScore, 62% of adults over the age of 18 have engaged in gaming. Of that group, 49% are millennials, while 16% are Gen Z or Zoomers. That's interesting. The report further states
that is interesting.
So little are playing. Well, they're probably worried about the future. The report further states that 82% of these video game playing adults have spent money on in-game purchase in the last year. I mean, we really just want to get away from what's going on. We want to play the game. And sometimes we hit a wall where we end up having to spend money because we can't dedicate enough time, because you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. Depending on who you are, that last sentence either filled your heart with dread or made you excited about how much money you're going to make off gamers. Yeah. One side.
Right. Yeah. Are you the gaming studio or are you the gamer?
Yep. So of the people ComScored surveyed, 77% said that they play games on or more, or on one or more platform. More than one platform, I should say. And more than a third said that they play on console, PC, and mobile. So no, you can't blame this all on mobile gamers. Pretty fascinating, right?
It absolutely is. The stats are kind of higher than I would expect, but
here's the kicker that really I find fascinating. Just over 85% of Gen Z and 80% of millennials said that they watch esports. Meanwhile, US gamers racked up 45 billion hours on video game websites and apps in 2023.
those are really high stats.
Yeah, I agree. So
Now, did they conduct their survey among gamers or us?
yeah, really nothing but gamers. .com? No, it says as reported by gamesindustry.biz on July 18th, ComScore's State of Gaming report. So we'll have to start aggregating that news. So let's go on to the last article for today's WarCrafters. It's in the WarCrafters channel on forgotten features of RPGs that should return. Gonna jump straight on over to Game Rant. Mark Smith is the author. Random encounters in RPGs have mostly been replaced by visible encounters, but these instances still have more to offer than frustration. Keyword-driven dialogue systems have been largely abandoned in RPGs due to complexity and cost of implementation, despite their immersive potential. That's going to be replaced by AI. Exploration features like manual mapping have been lost in modern RPGs, leaving players without satisfaction of penning maps or finding their way organically. Yeah, that's true. I don't know of many that have gone without a map. So non-combat random encounters. These are things that they want to have brought back. So I'm going to run through them really quick. And feel free to interject whenever you want. So non-combat and appropriately placed random encounters where you run into a person and they give you some information or make you do or ask you to do something, and you can go and do it during dense dungeons or while trying to escape labyrinthian caves. Getting loaded out of a map and loaded into a battle derails the player's train of thought, needlessly interrupting the task at hand. After rendering enemies on screen without the need to load between exploration and action becomes possible. With more advanced technology, random encounters were made visible on the map with placeholders that could be avoided or done away with. So yeah, you could avoid it. They want them to be brought back.
I mean, I think that's kind of a win. It keeps the game unpredictable. But if you're looking for relaxation, maybe that's not it.
Well, I mean, the random encounter is, unless it's a surprise, you shouldn't be surprised by somebody on the horizon, you know? So I've never, I've never really liked random encounters. I mean, I did in the sense that I was surprised by something when I'm playing D&D, but I mean, if they're on the road, you should see them on the other side of the road and, you know, I'm going to walk up to them. So keyword and topic-based dialogue, conversations without getting stuck in a dialogue tree. Yeah, nowadays you just leave. Like, you get everything you want out of it and then you just leave. Travel with diegetic directions and mapping and manual mapping. So experiencing organic exploration and the joys of getting lost. They actually have a title for a game, Etrian Odyssey 4 Legends of the Titan, I guess, is exemplary as to not having a map. So why it went away: player inconvenience, overcomplicated form or from a design perspective. And the classic examples were Morrowind, Outward, Final Fantasy VIII, the maps side, Etrian Odyssey, Wizardry, Might and Magic. You'd map the actual world.
I think it's funny that why it went away is player inconvenience, so maybe it should stay gone.
Yeah, really. I think so. I like the map being there, even on Minecraft, which I like the world map. So I have mods that add the world map. Learning languages as skills, that way you can actually communicate with things that aren't your normal species or whatever. The joy of communicating with centaurs in their own tongue to gain respect or something like that. Yeah, so why did it go away? Difficult to implement unless used as a core mechanic, of course. Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy, classic examples. So in role-playing games, if you don't speak the language, you can't speak to the goblins because you don't speak goblin. So
Well, that could be kind of a limitation.
yeah, but unless the goblin itself has to give you something specific to learn, then there's a flaw in the gameplay because it wasn't part of the core mechanic. So that's why it went away. Yeah. Upward traversal skills. Expensive, hard to implement, balance, Daggerfall, Ultimate Online, Jagged Alliance. Says it's easy to see why the feature went away in CRPG since climbing requires painstaking animation, but that's not true. I mean, if you look around right now, verticality in various games is at an all-time high. Throne in Liberty, I use a grapple to pull myself up to higher climbs.
Well, and they're using a 1996 game as an example, so yeah, that might have made sense then, but it's so advanced now.
Yeah, they're jumping and climbing and all of that kind of stuff is now, even it says levitation spells and abilities and other things. Yeah, that's all over games right now, so I don't buy that one, but that was their last article, or their last claim and our last article. So I'm going to reboot, and that's going to snap us back to the front page of WarCrafters.
Are you going to use a grappling hook all the way back?
Yeah, I used the grappling hook too to get myself all the way up. See, I was down here and then I grappled my way back up. There we go. Thanks for reminding me. At any rate, that's it, folks. We are done for WarCrafters. I'm going to reset. We're going to do the continuity report next. I just realized that it is 5 o'clock, so we're doing pretty good on the speed. So let's get on with it. We've got 3 more shows: the continuity report, technology today, and 4 Will Tech for today. And we're in the process of moving everything over to YouTube as well, and it will then shortly become a podcast. So stay tuned, download the podcast if you can. If you can't, we're over at youtube.com/ohmTown, and then here on twitch.tv/ohmTown, of course. I am Mayor Watt, grappling with signing off. There's the Sentient AI saying whatever they're going to say.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for WarCrafters. Be back soon.
See you soon. And continuing to grapple with streaming. Is this thing on? Oh, it is. Bye.